Well, and what's becoming an increasingly interesting week, especially in the football area, we're back for round 2 of the Titus and Sergio Variety Hour. I'm Sergio Paradise, and here's a bloke who boasts absolutely no character references whatsoever. It's Titus O'Reilly.
I was a bit annoyed that Waleed Ali and Malcolm Turnbull both came out and disendorsed our show. actually did a reverse character reference.
That's a badge of honour.
Yeah, they said, do not listen to us.
Yeah. No, man, I'm happy with that. I'm more than happy with that. Surprised that old Malcolm even knew he existed, to be honest. Because it's
sport related.
It's sport related, and AFL especially.
It is a. It says a lot about us that even people that aren't into sport don't like us. Now, before we start, a couple of orders of business to get through. We've got a big thank you to our supporters who,
as always,
got really behind us and keep getting behind us. A few more joined up this week, and we're sending out T-shirts and mugs to them. And also, I should add that supporters got access to the pre-sale for our show that we just announced. So,
did they show any interest? Our supporters, fantastic.
So that, a lot of them took up that ability to get tickets.
Right.
Unfortunately for them, it means they've got good tickets.
Yeah.
So they'll be up close to us.
So we'll actually see those first few rows and go, there's our supporter group.
We will,
right
but
there.
then they'll see us up close and go, why am I doing this?
What a waste of money this has been.
They both look more unhealthy than I even thought behind the scenes.
Even under the lights.
So just getting to the show we announced our tour Insufficient Intent.
Right.
Which
is topical this week.
Yeah, well, we put the tagline, funnier than Richmond leading with minutes to go. So the Richmond Football Club have sued us and said nothing's that funny. It's false advertising.
Oh, but I'll tell you, there's nothing like a good lawsuit for publicity value.
That's right. So we should just running through the dates, and tickets are actually selling very fast. Some of these I think might sell out like soon. I know they're not for a while, but one or two of them have already significantly sold a lot of tickets. So thank you for people who bought them. But Thursday, the 31st of August, we're at the Comedy Theatre in Melbourne, the grand old theatre.
I cannot believe we're actually going to set foot on that stage. I've seen Barry Humphries perform there numerous times, and I just think,
who did he play for?
His footy stuff's not as good as his drag act.
Not as well. Yeah. So that's now this is the bye week, everyone. So everyone knows. So we might clash with AFL X, but we're not.
There's a head-to-head battle that everyone wants to see.
So that's Thursday, 31st of August, Comedy Theatre. That one's selling very quickly. Friday, the 1st of September, we're in Sydney at the Concourse Concert Hall.
And that's in Chatswood, I think.
Yeah, Chatswood. So which someone pointed out to me, they don't consider it in Sydney.
It's not that far
I know.
out,
Because I've been there before, but on the back of them saying that, I went and Googled just to. I'm like, it's a bit like people used to say that they only go on the red pages on the Melways, which was the inner city basically.
Yeah, it's like most Melbourne supporters are map 64 only in the Melways.
Right. So Friday, the 1st of September, we're at the Concourse Concert Hall, and then we're doing 5 shows in 5 nights, sir.
In 5 cities.
In 5 cities. Then we fly
like
to
Paul
Perth.
McCartney's doing that.
Saturday, 2nd of September, we're at the Octagon Theatre in Perth. Now that show is selling very quickly, so I would suggest if you're in Perth and you want to come, you better get onto that. Then we're the Sunday, the 3rd of September. These are all nights at night. We are in Adelaide. And already people have asked where they're meeting with their pitchforks for you.
There's quite a few have been, tweeting me about, pitchforks, flaming torches and barrels.
I'm going to take a different flight to you, just because I'm a bit nervous. We're at the Akaba there in Adelaide, so that's on the Sunday night, which is Father's Day.
It's a pretty well-known place, Akaba.
I've heard that. A lot of Adelaide people have given me their
big rock and roll venue. I think I remember seeing years ago. You'd see Cold Chisel or Midnight Oil.
That's what they used to do. Right. So we'll be there on the Sunday, which is Father's Day.
Oh, right. So we've managed to avoid that in Melbourne.
It's terrific. Yeah. And the great thing there is, perfect for your dad for Father's Day. Come see us. especially if you don't like your dad. And then on Monday, the 4th of September, we fly to the nation's capital, Canberra, where we're going to be at the Street Theatre. And so that's the last night for that. Now, I should also add that I am working furiously on venues and dates in both Hobart and Brisbane.
And Brisbane, yes.
They're
exactly.
looking like...
We've had a few requests from them.
I've had a lot of people actually say, why aren't you coming to Brisbane and why aren't you coming to Hobart? Are you like the AFL?
Yeah.
Who don't care about those?
Don't care.
But we do care. And so we will be announcing stuff around that soon, so stay tuned. So that was just simply we couldn't get that all locked away in time.
Sort of week.
Well, it might be around that time too. It's just we just didn't have them all locked away. So we should get
when we do Canberra, can we get a couple of pollies along? Do you reckon?
Well,
you're well politically connected.
Not at all. I'm sure we'll be public servants and political staffers, a lot of them.
Yeah.
So
but it'd be nice to give
our views on politics.
Christopher Pine just to walk on stage and... I'm not sure
See
why that would be funny, but yeah.
So anyway, so that's the show. So you can go on and tickets are selling fast. So a few of those are selling very quickly. So
how do people buy them, Titus?
If you go to frontiercomedy.com/Titus O'Reilly, you can find all you need and links to all the tickets and everything. You can also go to my Facebook page and my Twitter account. So it's everywhere. If you Google Titus O'Reilly, you'll find everything you need for that.
Excellent.
And it's all happening. So we're really looking forward to going and doing that.
We're really going to do it.
And thank you to all people who have already bought tickets and the enthusiasm it's been met with. So
we can't wait.
And
especially Adelaide.
It will be interesting.
I think hire bodyguards.
They're going to charm. They're going to charm you. You're going to come back.
I'm going to charm them.
Pro Adelaide.
I will be very pro Adelaide.
While you're there.
Yeah, while I'm there. While I get home.
So there we go. So we're looking forward to that. Now, what a few days we've had since we last spoke. The tribunal has been taking up... the AFL needs its own sort of dedicated law and order channel.
Yeah.
It should be. It's been all lawyers and there's been better legal representation at the tribunal than most real crims would ever get.
Oh, exactly.
Like it's QCs at 6 paces. It's
even George Pell's bringing Waleed Ali for a character reference this morning.
So we found out on the night that Basher Hooley got a 2 match suspension. Now in it he pulled out some character references, one from Malcolm Turnbull, one from Waleed Ali, who, when I was looking at it, I'm thinking, they're not the most popular people to put forward. Like, it's not like you pulled forward David Boone.
Yeah, Booney.
He would have got off.
Yeah.
Lamb would have got suspended if you got Boone as a character reference. So it was seen by a lot of people that not only did it was a light suspension for knocking a bloke out cold.
Yes, behind the play.
I noticed Richmond supporters are a bit more...
the old... I just threw his arm back.
Yeah, he was trying to break a tackle.
To get away. He wasn't being tackled.
So, but I respect that of Richmond supporters, though, because it's like
you
me.
Expect it.
After seeing Clayton Oliver almost decapitated in Perth and almost dead, lucky to be playing this week.
Very defensive of young Clary.
You got to do that, even if you know you've been completely irrational with your own team. So respect to Richmond supporters.
Being completely irrational is part of the thing of being a supporter.
But the thing is, also talking yourself into that it's not irrational.
Yeah.
That's the real supporters. They're like, I know you're saying, Titus, that you give me respect for sticking up, but you're suggesting that I'm doing it in a stupid way. But no, you are wrong. You are wrong. He is innocent. So anyway, a lot came into it that this was seen as the good bloke clause, at the fact that Basher Hooley hadn't knocked someone else out before.
I reckon we would like to claim this the good bloke
policy. Oh, we've been banging on about it forever.
For months, and now it's even getting tractions, but it was quoted in the Age yesterday.
But I don't think we're the first to come up with
Probably
this.
not, but we'd like to claim so.
Oh, yeah, let's pretend we are. The thing I find interesting about this is I think almost using the Turnbull and the Waleed Ali references I think it backfired in the court of popular opinion for
Yeah.
people because they just thought it was overkill more than anything else.
Yeah.
But one thing I learned that's kind of interesting is in terms of the Turnbull one, Turnbull had presented his foundation, done a speech earlier in the week.
Yeah.
He wasn't talking about the tribunal. He wasn't providing a character reference for the tribunal. Hawley's lawyers went and cut bits out of that speech and presented
to say
it.
what a
So everyone was like, why is the
basically.
Prime Minister taking time out to provide a character reference
for
specifically
a footballer who he doesn't really know.
Which he doesn't. Yeah, he probably was surprised to learn he plays football.
Yeah, I mean,
knowing Turnbull.
When he'd seen Basher at that meeting or ceremony where he presented to the foundation, he would have seen Basher standing there in a suit with a beard.
Yeah.
And the last thing he'd think that he was a footballer. He's a sheik.
Well, no, he probably thinks he plays for in the NRL or something. Turnbull's not exactly.
He's got no idea about.
So the interesting thing about all that is, then it was seen that the 2 weeks was by the AFL. It was seen that the 2 weeks for knocking a bloke out cold was manifestly inadequate. Is the term they use in there.
And did you see? Poor old Simon Lethlean, who's been in the job about 5 minutes, has already aged 20 years. Did you see him speaking last night?
I see. I'm actually all for what the AFL are doing, but I think there's two issues here. I think one issue is, was the tribunal wrong to not give more and to give too much weight to his previous good behaviour? And the fact that he's a great guy in public, and let's all assume he is. I don't really remember many, so let's say that's all true. They think they gave that too much weight. The thing I think is the challenge for the AFL, and this is why I'm glad they did this, because there was all sort of inconsistency.
They're appealing against it, you mean?
Yeah, they're appealing and saying it's manifestly inadequate. Is the thing about that...
that's a phrase I've heard since primary school, actually.
Well, just in your dating life.
Just school reports. Old girlfriend.
Do you know what I love the AFL? They use insufficient intent for the out of bounds, and that's where we've stolen that from our tour name, and they've got manifestly inadequate. Do you think someone in there just has worked out the thesaurus on word function?
Yeah.
That's basically what's happened.
Well, the one thing we do have a title now for the next tour.
Yeah, that's right.
Manifestly inadequate.
Keep them coming, AFL. So anyway, the reason I think that the AFL have done the right thing here, and it's nothing actually to do with Basher Hawley. At some point, the AFL has to make a decision around, and I also think it's for the Schofield thing, right? Now, let's even assume that Schofield glanced Clayton and Clayton even staged. So I'm not even trying to argue that, but they're the same. But to me, there are certain things in footy that you can't stamp out, or they're part of the game and you wouldn't want to. So tackling, head clashes and hip and shoulders that all happen as part of the game.
Part of the game, yeah.
Now, there are some hip and shoulders that if you run right past the ball or you're nowhere near the ball, but overall, you don't want to... It's a physical game. You don't want to get all those things. So you're going to have head clashes and all that sort of stuff. So that's fine. We're not trying to make it, another sport.
That happens in any sport. I mean, it happens in basketball.
And it is a contact sport. So, and the players know. So, like what happened to Joel Selwood the other week and things like that, they're going to happen, and you can't necessarily start... given what we know of concussion and the long-term effects and what's going to happen, to me, the AFL has no choice but to say, you throw an elbow, you throw a fist at someone's head, you're going to cop
pay the price.
Even if, in Schofield's case, even if you assume Schofield lightly glanced him and Clayton was staging, the fact he threw an elbow at someone's head, my problem with this all the time is when you see these things like with one punch, people getting killed from one punch. We had the doctor yesterday or 2 days ago.
Shocking story.
You only need to get hit in the head in a certain way. The force doesn't almost... Some people get belted in the head as hard as you can imagine, and it weirdly doesn't have an effect. It hits them. And others get a light glancing blow and never get up again. So given we know that, surely in football... and the AFL to protect itself legally as well for the long term, and the players' union too, and the players and everyone, and even the fans. Surely you throw a closed fist or an elbow at anyone's head, shouldn't it almost be like irrelevant of the outcome a bit?
Well, I agree. I mean,
because Schofield got lucky he didn't hit Clayton harder. That's really what the debate should be about. Maybe Clayton staged, that's a separate debate, sure, let's have that debate. And I know a lot of people think he did. But you don't know with a head clash. Once you see that actually a head being hit, once you see any contact at all, you don't know, unless you're the person, whether you faked or not, really.
Well, exactly. And the thing with the Schofield one, and I know it's by far the second in relevance compared to the Bashahuli. But the fact that he was found not guilty the other night at the tribunal doesn't state that he didn't throw the elbow.
Yeah.
But it also, and it makes the umpire, and I think it was Brett Roseberry, who's one of the more experienced umpires, who was standing 1 metre away.
Yeah.
It makes him look like an idiot too.
But see, my point here is, let's say that Schofield threw that elbow, but it did hit lightly and Oliver faked. So even if they are the facts, even if we accept those as the facts, which I don't necessarily know, I don't know if they're true, but there was contact, but it wasn't hard enough. To me, the AFL got to take a position at some point, because you can't be sort of half pregnant. This is my problem of guessing whether you're guilty or not of how hard it was.
Yeah.
Is he so coordinated, and anyone who's watched Schofield play probably thinks he's not, to know he was just going to really lightly touch him? Or did he get lucky that Oliver didn't dart his head forward, or didn't, and this is my point, you either take the head seriously or you don't, and you either say elbows and fists and punches are not part of our game.
Well, this is my point.
And if you throw an elbow at someone's head, even if you miss, you're going to get a week or something.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, even if he did miss, or it's the slightest glancing blow, or even if you collect him and he shouldn't have been found not guilty, because he still threw the elbow.
And that's my point. I don't want to harp on about Schofield, but it's anyone who does that. You punch someone in the head, even if they show no ill effects, or even if you swing and miss, you take a shot at the head. The AFL needs to say, look, you're going to get the book thrown at you if you throw anything at the head. So either just don't do it at all. It's not very complicated.
Yeah, exactly.
And then if sure, they should bring in some stuff around maybe, past behaviour, or, how hard, how much injury should have some weighting, I guess.
How much damage is done.
But not to the amount it does, because to me, with the head, it's luck.
Yeah,
it's pure luck that... Bashahuli, is pure luck that Lamb got up again at all.
Yeah.
One day, some player is not going to get up from something like that. And what then you make it a longer one? Well, it's luck once you decide to make that point. The throwing of the punch, what happens after you throw the punch is luck.
Yeah.
So then why are the AFL making out because he didn't...
Because he's a good bloke.
Well, no, but because this guy didn't get knocked out, it's 1 week. Because this guy did, it's 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
This week he got a broken jaw, he gets 6.
And all that. And I'm like, well, hang on.
This bloke, got severe brain damage. Well, that's 12 months. I mean, you can't have that sort of sliding scale damage.
Well, I think you at least have a minimum. So that a minimum of a week or two. So say you get lucky.
Mandatory sentencing.
Well, it is
That'll never come in Victoria.
That's right. Because all the left-wing judges.
You know the good thing about the Schofield decision? Well, at least it hasn't upset the Brownlow betting.
Oh, yeah.
He's back in. He's back in.
I know. Someone was saying to me, an Eagles... a guy knows a big Eagles fan. I bumped into him this week. He lives in Melbourne, and he said, "We were hoping you'd get 2 weeks." I know that's a very serious thing, but to me, it's just a thing that I just can't see a way around it because of the seriousness of the outcomes. Once you initiate that, you are initiating a risk of which you have no control, and the luck is all that saves you. And right now, it's you didn't. If you break his jaw to your point, you get 8 weeks or 6 weeks. But if you don't, how do you know you just happen to be lucky you hit him in the right bit?
Yeah. Exactly. Now, I got to ask you, your thoughts on the good bloke character reference / stuff. Now, personally, I'm not for it at all. I think it should be.
Oh, you mean looking at past reference?
Past. I mean, you can understand if a player's been up 28 times, you might say, mate, you're not getting a discount, whatever you did today.
It gets worse. Or it's more like it gets worse for you.
But if you've played 160 odd games like Bashahuli and you've never been reported or what have you, well, then we might take that into account. But I don't think the good bloke rule or the character reference is even. I mean, look. Dermot Brereton and David Rhys-Jones are 2 of the best blokes you could ever meet. But
You wouldn't argue they shouldn't have been punished all the time.
You shouldn't have argued that because Derm was a good bloke, he shouldn't have been punished when he stomped on Raiden Tallis's head.
Well, my thing is, I don't think you should get a discount. I think there should be a heavier loading the more, you've got bad... if you've got a bad record, it gets worse for you. Not necessarily it gets better if you've never done anything before. Like, you still get the minimum. I think most people just think this is light on, and I think the character reference haven't helped.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you knock a bloke out, you're going to get... Of
course you are.
This is not a complex thing.
But the other thing that's puzzled me about, or not puzzled me about this whole thing this week, is it's all the AFL. It's the whole thing. Like, Daniel Cherney from The Age put this very succinctly yesterday. He said, an AFL-appointed panel is now to hear an AFL appeal against a call made by another AFL-appointed panel because another AFL-appointed panel sent it to them.
Yeah.
It's all within the AFL. And they're all trying to keep their independence and distance from one another.
Yeah.
And it's all just become, a hell of a shit fight,
But you could argue on the other side, though, that the fact that the AFL are appealing their own tribunal shows that there is some independence because they're not they haven't influenced that outcome. Where I thought they were more in trouble was when they had with the Essendon stuff where they gave the players a free, they let them off basically, and then you find so it's not a perfect system, but that's where it gets into the courts if it doesn't work through there. There are other avenues beyond this.
So what's going to happen this afternoon?
They have at 5:30. There's another appeal heard, and it's by different people. So it's Peter O'Callaghan, Brian Collis, and Michael Green, and they will decide whether they will either uphold the appeal or not. They will either say, the AFL's right, this should have been more, and then they'll come up with what it should be, and it might be 3 weeks or 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Might be 10, I don't know, but you imagine it might be 3 or 4.
What happens if they toss out the appeal? Is it over then?
Yeah.
They can't appeal.
I imagine technically if you really, I'm not a lawyer.
Court,
they could take it to outside, but the AFL are never going to do that.
They can't be bothered doing that. No.
They were annoyed when Essendon did that because it took it out of their own world. Max Zad wrote in, a Muslim, lenient sentencing, Waleed Ali and Malcolm Turnbull. Is the AFL Tribunal trying to win talkback AM radio bingo? It does push all the buttons that they like to talk about.
The lenient sentencing.
That's very clever, Max. I might be sending you, I think I'll send you a T-shirt for that one.
Yeah, I think Max deserves a T-shirt for that one.
So anyway, that was just the thing for the Tribunal. I just find the head thing a serious thing, and I think, people talk tough, but then you see these stories of the one-punchers kill people, and it's not that hard.
And again...
And you just got to kind of say, if you're the AFL, well, one, we're not taking that risk because if we don't be hard on this stuff, one day a player's not going to get up and it'll be hell to pay for us.
And they've got to have some consistency.
And secondly, if you get whacked in the head on the footy field and you don't get a broken jaw and you don't get we don't know the long-term effects of these things properly enough. They're only learning it in the NFL now. It's all horrible.
In America,
so if the AFL seem to have allowed that to happen even on a minor way, that they didn't punish it, they're on a hiding to nothing, right?
In years to come, class actions, there could be anything.
Oh, they will.
So, anyway.
Another story that broke yesterday is Michelle Payne, let me start again. Melbourne Cup winning jockey Michelle Payne. You can't say a name without saying that in front of it.
The first woman jockey to win a Melbourne Cup, Michelle Payne.
That's right. So Michelle Payne is going to be facing Racing Victoria stewards after testing positive to a banned substance.
Oh, sounds pretty serious.
Tell you what, this is when women's sport has really matched the men now, when they can do these things. They can do anything a man can. They can win the Melbourne Cup and they can get
and they can take
doping.
The wrong pill.
That's right. We just need a few more stories of them, beating up their spouses or urinating in public, and we're there. We've got bingo. So anyway, she's been found. Now, stewards received a report from Racing Analytic Services Limited, which confirmed the presence of phentermine, an appetite suppressant and banned substance, after a Swan Hill Cup meeting on June 11th. The stewards have stood down Payne from riding and track work from this positive swab, and she's now expected to go to the inquiry at Racing Victoria headquarters, I think today, to talk about it.
Right now, actually.
And so they said that so it's kind of very interesting because, arguably to the general populace, probably the highest paid, highest profile jockey.
Yeah, it would be between her and Damien Oliver, probably.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people who know her who have no interest in racing or sport just because of... and she got a lot of publicity.
And I think she's paying a bit of the price of that sort of fame and / notoriety.
Well,
it's an appetite suppressant, which, if you're a jockey, that's probably not an unusual thing to want because they're always trying to make the weight.
Always hungry.
They're always hungry. You may have a look at them. But she's paying the price. If she hadn't won the Melbourne Cup, she wouldn't be on the front page of the Herald Sun today. There's no question about that.
Absolutely. Do you think you and I should get our hands on some of this stuff?
Well, I've already scribbled down Fentamine. That's with a PH. Right.
Yeah. Do you think we should get onto it before our show? Yeah. So we look in our best possible shape. Do a bit Eddie Maguire.
So we look a bit lean and mean. And it's probably full of amphetamine, so we'll be gibbering even more.
I tell you what, I don't know about her. I wouldn't necessarily be wanting to go to the racing Victoria stewards. I'd be trying to appeal to the AFL tribunal. Yeah. They're very good on this stuff. They're very lenient.
They could string this out. She could have won 4 more Melbourne Cups by the time they make a decision.
And even then, she'd probably get off. Is she a good chick? That's the question we need to know. Yeah. So that's a huge story in racing.
Yeah, it is. It's not as big as everyone makes out. And
what do you mean? Is it a legal substance?
Yeah, I know. But
you apologists for drug takers? Why do you hate clean athletes?
Because
it's fine. Don't even answer.
I'm not even going to answer that.
Do you think she was riding one of those horses that's on ice? Because you and I have talked about 5 times this year about the different horses.
They're all on the gear.
That have been found to tested positive for ice.
Yeah.
So you put a jockey that's not eating as much because they're on appetite suppression on a horse with ice. No wonder you're winning Melbourne Cups. You're winning F1 races.
You're winning jump races without just going straight through the
jumps. The jumps at once. The thing I don't get about this ride is everyone tries to make the jockeys as light as possible.
Yeah.
So they all end up roughly maybe they should have minimum weights. Like they actually have to be. They say you can't be
Well, there's been some talk over the last few years in that because people in general have got bigger over the years.
Yeah.
That expecting jockeys to ride at say 47 kilos is just so ridiculous. They should lift it all up.
Well, we've talked about getting back to what they did in the 20s, which is have monkeys race them.
Yeah.
Because that's obviously, monkeys are just, they're so much lighter to begin with.
But it doesn't matter if monkeys get on the Fentamine.
No. In fact,
they love the stuff.
But so monkeys is one thing we could do here to, stop starving people. But the other thing is trying to starve an adult down to 43 Ks or something is ridiculous. Why are we not just employing children as jockeys?
Now you're talking.
Terrific work experience, and that would be a bit of pocket money.
And it's just a lifetime love of a sport.
Yeah, grade 6 kids or something. Put them on a horse.
You can point out to them the importance of how, if they ride well today, that how much money can be made from it.
Yeah, and they get off school.
They learn about betting. They learn about odds. They learn about bookmakers.
Exactly.
All things that kids need to know.
It's terrific. And meet some interesting, colourful racing identities.
Yeah, he's a blokes with, long pockets and short arms.
So I think children should replace adult jockeys. I think it's just a simple... And some people say, well, it's a bit dangerous, Titus. But I say, well, we'll tie them to the horse.
Yeah.
So they can't fall off.
Yeah, like we do with the monkeys. You put those really tiny little stirrups
they can't
go over their ankles.
I mean, sure, if the horse rolls, we're going to lose a few kids.
Oh, but it's worth it. There's winners and losers in every sport.
No risk, no reward.
Exactly.
I think it's a terrific way to get kids, involved in sport, even against their will.
I mean, childhood obesity is a big
Huge problem.
I say, get them off their screens. and get them on the nags.
Get them on a horse. get them on a thoroughbred.
Yeah, get them on a racehorse and get them off their iPads. It'll be better for everyone.
Oh, I think that we've really hit on an idea here, and I hope our friends at Racing Victoria and around the country are listening.
You're coming to drug test us.
Yeah, we need to eat. We've gone delirious.
Fentamine. P-H-E-N.
Now, the other thing is, the World Cup. We've been huge fans of the fact that the Soccer World Cup. We're huge fans of the fact the World Cup's going to be in both Russia and Qatar. We think they're just brilliant places to have them.
Absolutely. Whoever thought of this?
Well, if someone said to me, where would be your two ideal places to hold the World Cup?
A world sporting
the football
event,
World Cup. It's always Russia and Qatar.
Of course.
It's just common sense.
What else could it be?
Now, back in the day, looking into when it became clear that FIFA were about as corrupt as, well, FIFA.
Yeah, I think they're the gold standard.
They're the Bernie Madoff of sports.
Yeah.
There's no one really more corrupt than FIFA, is there?
No, except maybe the Russians, and surprisingly enough.
Here we go.
There you go, bingo.
Well, I even think criminal organisations look at FIFA and go, gee, even we weren't that bold. We're not that bold. Anyway, FIFA's chief ethics investigator, this was he's not anymore, but back in 2014.
He got run out of town real quick.
He compiled a report back in the day in 2014 into basically all the corruption at FIFA and the allegations around mainly around the 2020 World Cup Qatar bid.
Yeah.
And they looked at it, and he obviously had a 430-page investigation, but it was never published, and FIFA instead put out a 42-page summary,
right,
which was apparently so light on that Garcia actually disowned it and said, you're not actually representing...
So there's 380 pages of good corruption gear.
That you've just
but 40 pages of nothing.
Now... It's actually been picked up by a German newspaper, managed to get their hands on the whole 430-page document.
Geez, it must have been hard to... They must have really covered it up. It must have been real hard to get a handle.
It's taken this long to... Some of the things that they found out had happened is there were private jets for FIFA members and millions of dollars of bribes paid. Now, some of them that are interesting is some of the early revelations that have come out is the Qataris flew 3 members of FIFA's executive committee to a party in Rio, so this is from Switzerland, on a private jet shortly before the December 2010 vote.
Oh,
now, if someone's putting you on a private jet to a party in Rio...
Yeah.
They're not doing that.
They're not expecting anything in return,
I've often rang a mate and said, hey... thinking about a tough week.
You're busy on the weekend?
And I do not want anything in return. Let me be very clear.
No. We'll fire up the Learjet and we're off to Rio.
So that was one of the things. My favourite thing that they did is...
this is magnificent.
One of the FIFA people found out that one of the voters on where the World Cup would be held was surprised one morning when he woke up and $2.6 million Australian had been... deposited into his 10-year-old daughter's bank account.
And you know the only reason he found out? He saw that she'd ordered 75 million Shopkins figurines online.
How good is that?
2.6 mil into the 10-year-old.
Do they think no one's ever going to find out?
Well, they've kept it pretty quiet up until now.
There's also a lot of questions. I love that though.
Yeah, that's
something that makes it worth having a child.
But I got to ask you. So they've discovered that now. But what happened? Did she have to pay it back? Did he have to pay it back, or he's just banked the 2.5 million?
I think that's all. I don't know. Yeah. I imagine that's all. There have been arrests and various things. So the US Justice Department have done a few arrests and things like that. There's also been a lot of questions about the Football Federation of Australia. They hired a guy called Peter Hargitay, who was a Swiss public relations and marketing consultant.
That's not ringing
straight away. That's up there with colourful racing identity. He was hired by the FFA, and he was a former advisor to then President Sepp Blatter.
Oh, he's ticking all the boxes.
So already you're saying his job was to orchestrate the dealings with the top-ranked members of the FIFA executive and lobby for support for Australia. It suggested his communication with the FFA would have shown them that he was behaving unethically. all the way, and that he was running down other bids and doing all sorts of other stuff, including obtaining confidential internal FIFA ethics committee correspondence.
So FIFA has an ethics committee?
Yeah, and they were leaking to the dodgy people. How good's that? It's like wheels within wheels. So they're basically saying there that FIFA, that the FFA, the Australian Football head of football, their bid was basically
as corrupt and as dodgy as the rest.
Well, I think it was as dodgy as the rest because we didn't win.
No, but
to
true.
be the most, we weren't dodgy enough.
But this Peter Hargitay, he copped a fair whack himself, didn't he? The FFA paid him. I mean, the whole shebang cost them $43 million.
There are huge stories coming out today, and that still haven't been explained really where that whole $43 million went.
I reckon. Peter Harkness, Swiss marketing consultant, he trousered a fair bit of it. I reckon.
I reckon check a few 10-year-olds' bank accounts of where our $43 million went. And I see now we're bidding on the Women's World Cup. Which I'd love to have, but you wonder why do business with FIFA?
Exactly.
I mean, I know they're saying they're changing.
They're trying to clean the joint up, but it's.
Do you think it's possible? This is the thing I've long suspected, and this is in no way making an excuse for this, but I've often wondered: is it even possible to run an international tournament as big as the Olympics or the World Cup without some level of corruption? Because you've got so many countries, so many snouts in the trough, so many needing to get things through in various countries.
There's so much money involved, and
I always, there's always going to be a minimum level of. It's never going to be squeaky clean in my mind. I imagine it's
not necessarily going to be millions of dollars in a paper bag or in a kid's bank account.
Yeah,
but there's lots of other ways.
There's going to be donations of even if you did it in a semi thing, is like setting up funds to support junior football, or it's just moving money around.
Go and stay in my Monaco penthouse for a fortnight. I don't expect a vote.
I didn't know you had a Monaco penthouse.
No, I'm just talking. I try to keep that quiet. I just
So anyway, that's quite interesting. I tell you what, they need to send Mike Tancred in there to the FFA
Tugger would have
sort out in there.
Tell you what, the only thing in international soccer that isn't rottenly corrupt, I reckon, is the games themselves. And even then, you don't really know. But I think
it's a big statement.
I know, but you watch it for all the hoo-ha. But then when you do see the best players in the world, you still think, geez, it's a good game. But
oh, yeah.
I mean, it's magnificent.
But you compare it to the AFL, which is squeaky clean.
Yes. Yeah.
Never had a drug issue. Never had a betting scandal.
Never had anything go wrong.
The problem soccer has is there's just so much money.
Yeah.
It's like the Olympics. It's just...
it's almost too big. I mean, it's the world game.
Yeah.
I mean, you go to South America, Asia, Africa. I mean, there's just millions of people who follow it and play it.
But you think about it, if you're corrupt in the AFL or the NRL or the A-League or something, you're not waking up with 2 whatever million in your 10-year-old bank account. You're not getting flown on a Learjet to Rio. You might get to go to international rules in Ireland or to China with coffee, which is not a way to win over someone. But the corruption, while there's low-level corruption, the money's not there in the amount to make it really worth your while.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
The risk isn't.
It's not worth the reward.
There's no risk or reward,
Well, I'm sure people do it, but they tend because they're stupid, not because there's when you start throwing some of these huge amounts of money at it, you kind of go, how are people not corrupt when it's this much? It's sort of inevitable.
Yeah, if you could pocket millions.
Life-changing money.
Yeah, and get Peter Hargitay to whack it into a Swiss bank.
This is the thing you and I always say, when we're going to go and commit a crime, it's going to be a big one.
Yeah. Years of planning will go into it.
I'm too lazy.
I've already looked at how do you and I get on the board at FIFA?
Now, the other sport that we've been following, but we're right up against you, about to be named, maybe as early as tomorrow, on Friday, the lockout in the cricket could be in place, and you could be named as captain of Australia as a scab crossing the picket line.
Well, I've put my hand up. I've been quite open about that.
Have you had any calls from Pat Howard?
No, unfortunately, the people at Cricket Australia, they haven't been reaching out, put it that way. I mean, but they haven't been reaching out to their they're contracted players. So
No.
I'm not really expecting them to reach out to me until the lockout happens properly.
They're playing their cards close to their chest, obviously, with you.
Yeah.
So it says here that basically what's going to happen is it should come in tomorrow, but then really where it comes to a head, because technically locked out, nothing's really happening straight away, but it looks like they're going to keep paying the players as under the existing memorandum of understanding in lieu of a new one. So there's no pay rise or anything. It just keeps going under the same conditions. But they're going to insist that they show up to the Australia A camp and various other things that are starting to happen, such as the tour of South Africa. Now, at some point...
And isn't there a Bangladesh one coming up shortly? And
So that's right. So at some point, they've got to kind of work out, are the cricketers going to strike and say, nah, or are the Cricket Australia going to do what they've said they're doing, lock the players out and say you can't play and we're not going to pay you? So we don't know if that's going to happen, or they're just going to let the deadline go through and basically nothing's going to happen. Now, the Cricketers Association have been saying they're not going to even respond to Cricket Australia until James Sutherland arrives back in Australia, because he's been in today this morning. And they're not going to do it until then, and then they're happy to meet.
He'll be jet lagged. He won't be taking their calls.
He's not taking their calls so far, so I don't know if he's going to. So we could be without cricket. The problem for Cricket Australia and the Australian Cricketers Association is no one's going to notice until Boxing Day if the cricket's not on. I mean, you've got the Bangladesh tour, you've got South Africa tour.
Australia A tours, nobody cares. Nobody cares.
The tour of South Africa, like a lot of cricket fans like myself, would miss if it wasn't on. But the majority of people, it's on at night. If you don't have Foxtel, you're not even going to know it's on, right? Yeah. So really, it's not till they get round to sort of summer of cricket here.
I think that might be Cricket Australia's part of their thing, is that I think we've given them the June 30 deadline, sure.
Yeah.
But we can stretch this out for a fair while longer.
Well, there's a game.
And hope that we can splinter the players into factions and get our own way that way.
Yeah, and that's what. And then they're also looking back at. They're also looking at some of the things around. There's some games against one days, I think, against India. And striking or locking out the players for that, it would be a real issue, because one, it would annoy India, and two, that's where we make all our money.
There's a lot of dough there.
The amount of money in India, for people who don't know, cricket now, the way it works is India are like what America is to baseball.
Yeah.
So, sure, baseball's played in Japan and that, but it's really all and you know, Dominican Republic and stuff like that, but it all revolves around. And India are now that big in cricket.
Oh, they run the entire world of cricket.
Yeah,
and have done for years.
Cricket Australia if India suddenly disappeared in the cricket world and said we're no longer playing cricket, right? We've converted to Quidditch.
Yeah.
The cricket world,
and then they'd have to beat Australia.
Yeah, that's right. The drop bears.
Yeah.
They would just be cricket would be broke overnight.
Yeah, of course.
So that's how much power they've got. So it's all the money is coming through Cricket Australia.
Now, do you think tomorrow? I mean, what I'd like to see is a genuine lockout, like an old style lockout with Pat,
balaclavaed men and dogs.
With Pat Howard and James Sutherland, wielding stumps at the forefront of Cricket Australia headquarters, and you've got Dave Warder and Steve Smith. They're all coming the other way. They got
sort of like the scene in Anchorman where the news.
Yeah, and do you remember that movie F.I.S.T? With Sylvester Stallone?
I don't. I think. Oh, it had something. When you said, "Do you remember the movie F.I.S.T?" I'm thinking,
Serge, not that one.
This is a family podcast.
Your private life's your own. But there was a movie called F.I.S.T where it was.
I don't remember this at all.
No, it was. He was the union delegate, and it was the men on the docks in the 1930s in America.
I'm looking this up because this sounds like
it's F.I.S.T. Right?
I know it's the
Fist. Federation of International Steel Tradesmen or something.
I'm looking it up. I'm looking this up right now.
That's what I want to see. It was your genuine clash.
Oh, you're right. 1978.
Yeah, and the unionists where pick handles are always used by the strike breakers.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm seeing at this one, you've got all the strike breaking equipment already there. The Cricket Australia can use stumps. And the cricketers all come charging with bats. And, of course, they're bigger bats these days. They're bigger, stronger bats than I've ever had before.
I'm looking here and it says it says here about this movie F.I.S.T, it's the initials F.I.S.T.
Yeah.
A rebellious Cleveland warehouse worker rises through the ranks of a trucking industry union to become union president, but his organised crime links cause his eventual downfall. Spoiler alert.
This is the whole cricket. He just summed up in one sentence.
It says, did you know the Cleveland scenes were filmed in Iowa?
Didn't know that.
There you go. I'm going to have to dig that out.
It's not a bad flick.
This
was old Sly Stallone when he was young and fit.
It's got a great tagline, which this tagline could be actually our tagline for this podcast.
Yeah.
A story about a man, the woman he loved, and the men he fought for. So, there you go. F.I.S.T.
Yeah, F.I.S.T. F.I.S.T.
Who knew that was going to come up?
No one. Certainly not me.
It gets 6.4 out of 10 on IMDb. So
it's not a bad little flick.
Yeah.
Oh, F.I.S.T.
All right.
It just reminded me when I'm talking about union breaking and fights between the management and the workers and stuff like that. F.I.S.T. did it really well.
I feel like you're really pouring fuel on this, Cricket Australia. You really want this strike to happen.
Oh, no question. I want the strike to happen. I want there to be violence outside Cricket Australia. And I want my baggy green.
Yeah, you'd be surprised to learn that F.I.S.T doesn't seem to be available on iTunes or Netflix or any of the streaming services. So
I think I've still got it on VHS.
If anyone knows how to get a copy of F.I.S.T, it might be on YouTube. It doesn't look like it's popular enough that anyone's defending its copyright. Anyway, we probably spent more on F.I.S.T than we originally planned. Now, we should also move on to... There's been a shocking story. Truly a shocking story has emerged this week. Which
Another
is
one.
Dynamic ticketing. Remember when dynamic ticketing was brought in? And it was brought in...
For the footy. Yeah.
This is for AFL, and it's about how clubs can adjust tickets depending on basically the popularity, and they can do it up or down.
And their expectations of crowds.
Yeah, so they can move it down.
Reserve seats.
And it would replace it was before dynamic ticketing. It was variable ticketing, and everyone hated variable ticketing because that was the AFL could decide whether to put prices up or down.
So we'll call it dynamic.
So they called it dynamic and said, it's up to the clubs now. So the AFL didn't get in trouble, but they could say to the clubs, if you want to do it, do it. We've given you the ability. Yeah. Now, at the time, the AFL said that their research indicated, this was before it was brought in, that this would be beneficial for fans because clubs in the main would actually lower prices for tickets when crowds were going to be low to encourage people to come. And do you want to know something that's really surprising, Serge? Is that's not what has happened.
That didn't happen.
What the AFL's promised us.
Knocked me over with a...
Would you believe that clubs are 10 times more likely to raise ticket prices under the pricing system? This is the AFL Fans Association have done this, rather than lower them. Can you believe that?
Oh, it's hard. I mean...
They're actually putting the prices up on fans, not down.
Who'd have thought that would be the case?
It's just this is the biggest... at the time when they announced it, we knew they were lying.
We knew it was crap then. I mean, when does anything drop in price? It's like...
Well, it drops in
price. This state and federal government saying, now, if we do this, if we introduce this tax or if we take away this tax or something, power prices will drop.
Yeah.
There's nothing ever drops.
Well, the thing about it, though, is, to me, in terms of, as they say, price elasticity, is you lower the price of a ticket. So say Brisbane are playing... St Kilda on a Sunday twilight at Etihad.
Yeah.
So, not expecting crowd of any size and so St Kilda come out and say, hey, tickets are going to be $5 cheaper. Do you think a single person is going to go because it's $5 cheaper?
Not many. No,
because it's not enough to make it. No. You could, and if they said we'll pay you $5, we'll pay you, a certain amount. But it's not enough.
And it's still.
But then when they know everyone wants to come, so it's top of the table clash or something. You know, so. To say it's Richmond, Melbourne or something where they're both going well now, if that was this weekend, then they whack the prices up because they know you're going to have to pay it because you're going to want to go.
People want to go.
So it's not a surprise. Now, what's happened under it is the 56 times dynamic ticketing has been used. So this is their ability that they can look at a game and they're allowed to increase or decrease the price of tickets by between $1 and $3 at a time, and they can do it 4 times a season. Right? In the whole time, 56 times, they've out of that, only 5 of those 56 times the price has been lowered.
Right.
So 51 to 5 in terms of...
That'd be your 10 times that you said earlier.
Yes. So here, the chief culprits of putting hiking prices up are St Kilda, Richmond and Geelong. They've each increased ticket prices 7 times this year, followed closely by the Western Bulldogs and Fremantle, Carlton and North Melbourne, who've done it 5 times each. I was surprised to read that.
I thought you just said they can only do it 4 times a season.
Well, that's what it says here.
Yeah. But Richmond, St Kilda and Geelong have done it 7 times this year, increased it. As you say, Bulldogs.
Yeah. I don't think that's this year, sorry. Oh, no, it does say this year.
Yeah.
No, I don't know why that is.
Yeah.
Anyway, just shows my lack of knowledge of what's going on.
I can't. It's hard to imagine. Like, okay, you know, okay, Freo and, you know, I guess, you know, some of the interstate clubs.
Well, Swans have decreased. These are the ones that have decreased tickets. Sydney have done it twice.
Right. Collingwood once, GWS once, and the Saints once.
And then Adelaide, Gold Coast, West Coast, Port Adelaide, Lions and Melbourne, they've just not touched it at all. They've just left things as they are.
Well, Melbourne have the G home game, so I guess. And, you know, the Adelaide teams and the Perth teams, generally they fill the joint out every week anyway, so they probably don't need to. But, I mean, you wonder about North Melbourne. When would they ever have to put their prices up? You know, whenever. Yeah. And Brisbane. I mean, they struggle at the best of times to half fill a stadium.
I don't know, Brisbane haven't touched it.
Yeah.
They should be putting it down, though, you would think.
Yeah, you would think. And Gold Coast, they should be...
Putting it down?
Dropping their prices. You know, they should be giving them away with every ticket to
look at on, like, you know,
Waterworld.
Sydney and Collingwood and that actually at least putting it down. At least they can argue they've actually done it. But the others are just... I mean, you can sort of understand, like, you know... Geelong have got that new grandstand. Yeah. We heard that they've got a new grandstand.
But we still don't even know how many people it fills. They still don't know how many people fit into it.
Now, just before we go, do a very quick... I just wanted to mention that F.I.S.T is available on YouTube for free.
Fantastic.
It goes for 2 hours.
Yeah, I wouldn't be using up all your data on watching it.
And we should just go and have a quick look while we're still recording to see if there's been any development off the various stories, because there was a few things happening today.
So Michelle Payne, no decision there.
I'm just looking, and there's can't see anything yet on Michelle Payne being announced. So we'll keep a lookout for that.
No further
on that.
On George Pell.
I did see that Scott Pendlebury has come out and given his full support to Nathan Buckley. So that means Buckley's obviously going.
He's in trouble.
That's sad.
Well, Pendlebury, he's about the 5th or 6th Collingwood player of the last couple of weeks to give Bucks their full support.
Yeah.
So, you know, that can't be a good sign.
No, it can't be good at all. So it says, we have got some news. Michelle Payne's been banned for a month. She admitted guilt.
Fair enough.
So... she's suspended for it, and she's apparently admitted guilt. So there we go.
Oh, well, that's all just been solved fairly simply, hasn't it?
Well, I think she expressed regret.
She got caught.
She said she expressed regret and was embarrassed at her actions. She said, "I would like to take full responsibility and had I have known it would still be in my system, I would be riding with a brand substance in my system. I wouldn't be riding." So I think she was saying, "I took it, but I thought I was taking it long enough out when, I guess, you know," but that's just...
but she's taken full responsibility for her own actions.
I know.
That's unheard of.
I just
Can't she blame someone else?
Yeah, that's right. I think that's just not right. So there you go. So out for a month.
Okay.
So there you go.
Oh, she'll be back for the Spring Carnival.
Well, she hasn't really done a lot since the Melbourne Cup.
No, they're still making... I know they're making a movie about her. Yeah, Rachel Griffiths is behind it.
Oh, that's right.
I wonder if they'll put the fentamine reference in there.
Well, you know what? Her and Brendan Goddard, Rachel Griffiths and Brendan Goddard should get together and maybe combine the movies.
Yeah, there you go. You got everything. You got winners, you got losers, you got horses, you got drugs. And
I tell you what,
if we get involved, there'll be kids and monkeys as well.
Kids and monkeys. Everyone have a great weekend. Go watch F.I.S.T.
Don't bother with the footy. Going if you're near a video store, if there is still a video store,
pop down your local Blockbuster.
In your neighbourhood. See if they've got it on DVD. Or VHS.
We will see you next week. We want to just thank our supporters once again. If you want to come and see us when we tour near you, if you're in Perth, Adelaide, Canberra, Melbourne or Sydney, I'll put a link in the show notes, but you can also just go to frontiercomedy.com/Titus O'Reilly, or go to my Twitter or my Facebook. You'll find it all there. We'd love to see you. Brisbane and Hobart friends.
We hope to see you too.
Keep your eyes and ears peeled, because we hope to have some announcements on that soon. So, people in Adelaide, get your pitchforks ready.
Oof.
Serge is coming to town.
Tell you what, incognito and with the Secret Service, I think.
That's your problem. You use incognito as your fake name.
it'll be on my Qantas.
I'm going to tweet out your hotel room number when we're there. All right, we will see you next week.